The year was 1994. Baghdad, once a beacon of culture and learning, now cowered under a suffocating regime. Amidst the fear and uncertainty, a different kind of storm brewed. His name was Alouki, and he was trouble personified. He was a whirlwind of reckless abandon, leaving a trail of broken laws and shattered expectations in his wake. Alouki's name was whispered with equal parts fear and begrudging respect. His exploits were the stuff of legend, each one more daring and outlandish than the last. He lived on the edge of a knife, a constant threat to the fragile peace that held the city together. Alouki's reputation preceded him. He was a force of nature, as unpredictable as the desert wind, and like the desert wind, he seemed to care little for the destruction he left behind. Alouki's days were an endless cycle of petty crimes and reckless escapades. He sought thrills in the darkest corners of the city, his laughter echoing through the deserted alleyways. But beneath the bravado, a deep emptiness gnawed at him. He craved purpose, a reason to be more than just a name whispered in hushed tones. He longed for something to cling to, something to fill the void that threatened to consume him. He sought solace in the company of other lost souls, young men who, like him, were adrift in a sea of uncertainty. They raced their bikes through the narrow streets, their engines a defiant roar against the silence that had settled over their lives. But even in their company, Alouki felt alone. His laughter rang hollow, his smile a mask he wore to hide the emptiness within. He was a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the whims of fate. One sweltering afternoon, Alouki's gaze fell upon Amal. She was different, a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness. Her beauty was not of the fleeting kind, but a quiet strength that radiated from within. Amal possessed a grace and dignity that set her apart from the other girls in their neighborhood. She carried herself with an air of quiet confidence, her head held high even as she navigated the dusty streets. Her heart was pure, untouched by the cynicism that had infected so many around her. She believed in goodness, in the power of hope to triumph over despair. Alouki was captivated. He had never encountered anyone like her, someone who seemed to possess an inner light that shone brightly even in the darkest of times. He found himself drawn to her like a moth to a flame, his heart stirring with unfamiliar emotions. Amal's presence sparked something in Alouki, a flicker of hope in the desolate landscape of his heart. His friends, hardened by the harsh realities of their world, scoffed at his sudden infatuation. They warned him against pursuing her, reminding him of his reputation and the vast gulf that separated them. "She's too good for you," they sneered, their words laced with a mixture of envy and concern. "She's a rose among thorns, you'll only end up hurting her." But Alouki was undeterred. He was determined to win Amal's heart, to prove that he was more than just the thug everyone believed him to be. He saw a glimmer of redemption in her eyes, a chance to escape the darkness that threatened to consume him. The more he learned about Amal, the more captivated he became. He discovered that she was known for her kindness, her unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of people. She volunteered at the local clinic, tending to the sick and injured with a gentle touch and a compassionate heart. Section 5. A Love Unsought. Alouki's pursuit of Amal began subtly. He loitered near her usual haunts, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. He sent her flowers anonymously, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the drabness of her surroundings. He even started attending prayers at the local mosque, hoping to impress her with his newfound piety, but his efforts only seemed to make Amal uncomfortable. She had heard the whispers about his reputation, the rumors of his reckless behavior. She knew that he was bad news, that associating with him would only bring trouble to her doorstep. Amal tried to ignore him, to pretend that he didn't exist. She avoided his gaze, her heart pounding in her chest whenever he was near. She wished that he would just leave her alone, that he would find someone else to lavish his unwanted attention on. Section 6. Silence and Fear. Fear tightened its grip on Amal. She confided in no one, not even her closest friends. She knew that speaking out against Alouki would be like inviting a hurricane into her life. He was a force to be reckoned with, and she was just a fragile flower in his path. Amal's once vibrant spirit dimmed under the weight of Alouki's unwanted attention. She withdrew into herself, her laughter fading, her eyes losing their sparkle. The fear followed her everywhere, a constant shadow that darkened even the brightest of days. She stopped going out as much, afraid to encounter Alouki and his menacing gaze. Her family, oblivious to her torment, attributed her change in demeanor to the stifling atmosphere of their war-torn city. They tried to cheer her up, to coax a smile back onto her face, but their efforts seemed only to deepen her despair. Section 7. A worthy suitor. As weeks turned into months, a glimmer of hope appeared on Amal's horizon. A young man named Khalil, a scholar known for his kindness and intelligence, expressed interest in her. He was everything Alouki was not: gentle, respectful, and well-respected within their community. Amal's family welcomed Khalil with open arms. They saw in him a beacon of hope, a chance for their beloved daughter to find happiness and security in a world that seemed determined to deny them both. Khalil treated Amal with the utmost respect, his every word and gesture reflecting his deep admiration for her. He valued her intelligence, her compassion, and her unwavering belief in the power of hope. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Amal dared to dream of a future free from fear, a future where she could love and be loved in return, without the specter of Alouki's obsession hanging over her. Section 8. The Night of the Storm. News of Khalil's intentions reached Alouki, igniting a firestorm of jealousy in his heart. He felt betrayed, as if something precious had been stolen from him. Consumed by rage, he vowed to make both Amal and Khalil pay for their defiance. On a night when the sky mirrored the turmoil in Alouki's soul, a violent storm broke out. Rain lashed against windows and thunder shook the very foundations of the city. Undeterred by the tempest raging around him, Alouki stormed towards Amal's home, his mind clouded with jealousy and a thirst for revenge. He pounded on the door, his voice a roar that echoed the fury of the storm. "Come out, Amal!" he bellowed, his words barely audible above the howling wind. "Come out and face me!" Section 9. Shattered Innocence. Alouki's intrusion shattered the peace of Amal's home. Her father, a man of quiet strength, confronted Alouki, ordering him to leave. But Alouki, blinded by rage, lunged at the older man, knocking him to the ground. Amal screamed, her voice lost in the cacophony of the storm. She watched in horror as Alouki, his eyes blazing with a terrifying light, turned his fury on Khalil. The fight was short and brutal. Alouki, fueled by years of pent-up anger and resentment, showed no mercy. He rained blows down on Khalil, his fists connecting with sickening thuds. By the time the storm subsided, leaving an eerie silence in its wake, Alouki had vanished into the night. Amal's father lay unconscious, his face bruised and bloodied, and Khalil, the gentle scholar who had dared to dream of a future with Amal, lay still on the floor, his lifeblood staining the carpet a gruesome crimson. Section 10. Justice at last. The aftermath of Alouki's rampage sent shockwaves through the community. Amal, racked with guilt and grief, hovered on the brink of despair. She blamed herself for Khalil's death, her silence now a heavy chain around her heart. The authorities, spurred on by the public outcry, launched a manhunt for Alouki. His face, once a symbol of reckless abandon, was now plastered on wanted posters throughout the city. His former friends, realizing the gravity of his actions, turned their backs on him, refusing to harbor a fugitive. Alouki, once feared and respected, was now a pariah, hunted by the very people he had once commanded. It wasn't long before the authorities caught up with him. Cornered and alone, he offered no resistance. As the handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists, Alouki seemed to finally comprehend the magnitude of his crimes. Section 11. The Price of Obsession. Alouki's confession sent chills down the spines of those who heard it. He spoke of his obsession with Amal, his jealousy of Khalil, and the rage that had consumed him on that fateful night. He expressed no remorse, only a chilling detachment that spoke volumes about the darkness that had taken root in his soul. The court wasted no time in delivering its verdict. Alouki was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. As he was led away, his eyes met Amal's for the briefest of moments. In that fleeting exchange, she saw a flicker of regret, a glimpse of the man he could have been. But it was too late for regrets. Alouki had made his choices, and now he had to live with the consequences. Alouki's tragic tale serves as a stark reminder that love cannot be forced, that obsession can twist even the purest of emotions into something dark and destructive. It is a story about the devastating consequences of unchecked anger, the importance of speaking out against injustice, and the enduring power of hope, even in the face of unimaginable tragedy.